Hello everybody, welcome to another video from the training department. I'm Adam, your training director. Today's video will all be about lesson planning. Before we start our video, we have to talk about a few terms which are important to understanding the content of this video. These terms will appear here as I speak about them. 1. Productive task. A productive task is the task which is usually at the end of your lesson, which is the summary of everything you have done so far in that lesson. That should be the activity which uses all of the vocabulary you have taught, it uses the grammar you have taught, or it really focuses on using language. Because as you know, if students don't get an opportunity to actually use language, then they're not really learning it. It's more learning about language rather than learning language. Next, aim. An aim is the purpose of your lesson. An aim is for you to understand where you are going with the lesson. If you don't have an aim, then maybe your aim is open the book to page 45 and do exercise 1, 2, 3, 4. Now there, you're not really teaching the students, it's more like testing the students' ability to be able to do exercises. So an aim is super important so we know where our lesson is going. Okay, term number 3 is receptive. Receptive means, a receptive skill is listening and reading. Receptive means to recognize and understand. Maybe it means for them to show us that they understand rather than speaking. Whereas term number 4, productive. Productive means that the students are producing something. Productive normally means that they're speaking or that they're writing. So again, these two terms will become very important a little bit later on in this video. My final term for this intro part is staging. Staging means the order in that we arrange our lesson. So when we start talking about how we're going to arrange our lesson, this word staging will become very important. Okay, let's go into part 1 where we look at how we can look at backwards planning. Okay, before we can get on to backwards planning, I want to talk more about staging and how we organize our lesson. So obviously, the first thing that we must have with every lesson is an aim. Our aim is there to show us where we are going and what we want to achieve. An example aim might be for students to talk about their past holidays using the past tense. That way it's really clear what our aim is and what we want to achieve. If you look at our handout, it talks a lot about aims and how to make the perfect aim, so you'll get lots more information there. Next, I want to go on to our productive activity. The productive activity is the thing at the end of our lesson, and that is the thing that practices the aim. So it's really important that we start with our aim, then we move to what we want our productive activity to be. Then we have to figure out how we're going to organize our lesson. And I have 2 ways of us organizing our lesson. And again, you can find all of this information in your handout. So after you've watched this video, take another look at the handout to see this information written down, which may be easier for some of you to understand. So, number 1, the first way of organizing your lesson will be from receptive to productive. Remember we said receptive is about recognizing and productive is about producing. So this way of organizing our lesson will go 4 stages. Stage 1, group receptive. This means that we're focusing on everybody recognizing the words or the language together. This could be if we're talking about very little kids, where we teach them 4 words, and then we put 4 words around the room, and then we say 1 word, like for example, red. Students must point to the flashcard which is red, or they must run to the flashcard which is red. This is group receptive, recognizing together as a group. This is stage number 1 because it allows students to do it together. So if at this stage some individuals still don't understand, they can look at their friends and they can copy their friends. Stage number 2 is individual receptive. What individual receptive means is recognizing, but recognizing on an individual level. What this might be in terms of an activity is put the students into teams and then do a similar activity where we have the words or the pictures placed out. Then as teams, we give them a color. So for example, like red. Then some individuals from each team must come and point to that color and must run to that flashcard. Then we ask a follow-up question to make sure that they recognize this vocabulary as an individual. This way is a good way of us testing how many individuals in that class actually understand the lesson that we're doing at the moment. Step number 3 is group productive. This is when we can expect students to produce the vocabulary or the language. The reason that we say group productive is for the same reason that we said group receptive, to help those weaker students feel confident. What's easier, saying it by yourself or saying it with everybody else? Of course it's saying with everybody else, because then your voice can become a little bit lost and you can feel more confident. Like if you cannot get the correct answer, you could hear somebody else saying the correct answer and you can copy their answer. Lastly, stage number 4 is individual productive. What this means is that you're going to get students to produce it by themselves. What this might be, if we're talking very young kids, might be we split them into teams, we show them a picture, and then the individual have to say that piece of vocabulary, to say that word. If we're thinking at slightly older kids, maybe they are completing a board race, where as individuals they have to recognize a picture or a sentence and write a sentence, write a word. Or a mini whiteboard race, where as individuals or pairs they are producing something. So this way it goes from group receptive, individual receptive, group productive, individual productive. These sound like very difficult terms, but if you think about it like this, going from something very easy to do to something more difficult to do. Because remember, if when you're first told a new word and I make you say it immediately, is it going to be difficult? It's going to be very difficult. If you hear a word 10 times and then you have to say a word, is that easy or difficult? That should be easy by that point, or easier. So the idea behind this method is letting students hear the vocabulary many, many times before we're expecting them to produce it. And the idea behind here is using the group to help give students more confidence when eventually they come to produce it. As I said, you can see this in more detail in your handout, and there will be some example lesson plans which will help you to understand how to apply this to your kids' classes. Okay, next is another way of thinking about classes. Not different, just another way. This way is going from very controlled, down, to less controlled or freer. What do I mean by controlled? What I mean by very controlled is the students don't have to do much with their language. We give the students choices. So here we are talking about older kids and maybe teens classes. For example, when we first introduce something, it should be very, very controlled. The only thing students are changing is one element. So if it is vocabulary, the first activity we can give them is a choice between vocabulary. Students don't have to produce anything themselves. They are just using the things we give them and choosing the correct form. The next activity going on, maybe it's a little bit less controlled. Students have to do a little bit more. Maybe the second activity could be something like a gap fill. In a gap fill, students have to use their knowledge and decide which word fits in the gap. But think about their choices. They are just choosing from the words that we have introduced in that day. Next activity is something which is a little bit less controlled. Maybe they have to choose the correct grammar form and the correct vocabulary word. Then the next activity down is a little bit less controlled, even more. So what it means is they have more choice of language that they have to use for that activity. So that could be one nearing towards the end of the lesson where, like we said at the start, our productive activity, where the focus is on using the language. So it could be something like a mingle where they have to ask and answer their friends' questions, and their choice of responses is very big. They can respond in the way that they want to respond. So it is less controlled. Again, the idea behind this structure is moving from somewhere where it is very easy, they are giving less choice and it's more receptive, slowly getting more and more difficult, where we are asking the students to do more and more and more. Hopefully they should gain more and more confidence while they're going through this structure. Again, if you look at your handout, you will see that this is written out in a very easy to understand way with many example activities at each stage. Also, at INS, the Training and Resource Department have provided many resources to help you plan your lessons. For example, there are ready-made activities, and the staging, the order in which you should do these activities are already suggested for you. So, thank you for watching. Take another look back at your handout. Watch this video as many times as you need to. This video is just an introduction into the theory behind the staging of your lesson plan. Okay, hope to see you in the next video.